Hey, Michael Didier here. The purpose of this video is to give you an overview of the last days as I see them coming down on planet Earth. It's going to be a synopsis of what I've put together in my last days link here on my blog. But it's actually twofold, as I said. In my Born Again series right here, number 7, we're going to talk about now the 144,000 in the scriptures. And I think it's going to make it easier for you to receive what I'm talking about with the 144,000 in the scriptures if you have an idea of who they are and how they came into being. So that said, I'd like to talk about kind of this chart. We have the first one I have here is Passover begins the tribulation. And I want you to think about some precedents that have been set forth in the scriptures. We had a true Passover before Sodom and Gomorrah fell. I say we're the sons of Abraham if we're born in the land. This is what it's all about. We're talking about born in the land, what it means to be born again. We had a true Passover before Sodom and Gomorrah fell. We had a true Passover before we left Egypt, before we left the authority of Pharaoh and came exclusively under the authority of our Father in heaven. We had a true Passover before we came out of the wilderness and into the land of Canaan. We crossed the river, we circumcised our men, we killed our lambs and our goats, and we had a true Passover. And it was from that point that we took over the promised land. In Genesis 17 and 18. Abraham was circumcised. It was then that he got his name Abraham. While he was sitting in the heat of the day, as we begin chapter 18, the angels come to him. The messengers come to him. And they let him know a couple different things. One, that Sodom's getting ready to fall. And that evening, when the angels go in to Sodom, they find Lot. Lot tells them, no, you're not going to sleep outside, not on the Passover. He brings them indoors and then serves them what? Unleavened bread. Gee, do you think there might be a shadow picture going on here? It was the very next day that they were destroyed. Sodom was destroyed. The beginning of the end for Sodom. But remember, I said there was a couple different things that were going on with those angels that came. The other thing they did was they told us, Abraham, that the heir was going to be born at the Moed, at the time of life the following year. The time of life. If the Father doesn't change, if His word endures forever. Passover in Egypt was not the first time we did these things. After all, if we came out 430 years to the very day, what were we doing 430 years just prior to that? We were keeping the Passover. Except it wasn't called the Passover then, it was called the time of life. Very interesting terminology for the time when a man is born a second time. That's what the whole purpose of my Born Again series is all about. to teach you what it means to be born again, born in the land, to turn from a Ger into an Ezra in one day. In one day, we have a chance to become as one born in the land. Well, look at what the next thing that we're going to talk about is. Let's see if we can get it to open. There it is. A nation born in a day. How is a nation born in a day? A nation is born in a day on Passover. That's when the Ger becomes as one born in the land. Why does it take a day? Well, when do we kill our lambs? We kill them at twilight. We eat them right after we cook them. And it takes a full day for that to happen all around the earth. That is how a nation is going to be born in a day. The nation was not born in a day in 1948. Didn't happen. That nation is going down. That nation is not going to be able to stand because that's not Israel. The Israel that we're talking about, that the Father is raising up in the earth, is still scattered all over the earth. That Israel is going to be all 12 tribes. The Israel that was raised up in 1948 was Judah. That's not Israel. The Father's people do not trust in horses and chariots. They trust in Him. They follow Him. They keep His statutes, His judgments, and His ordinances. They don't trust in military intelligence. They don't trust in air-to-ground missiles or ground-to-air missiles. They don't trust in tanks and armored cavalry and air force, military intelligence, and covenants with other wicked nations besides them. Judgment begins in the house of Yahovah. If you're going to say you're His and not going to obey Him, you're going down. That is taking His name in vain. And they won't even use His name. No, they won't be able to stand. And so what's going to happen? The whole world is going to say, what happened to Israel? Well, shortly after that, shortly after Israel falls, the Father is going to raise up Israel in the earth. It's going to be the same crew that was the nation born in a day. Well, if you look now on my list here, we have the abomination right after Israel falls. Somebody's going to step forth and probably say something like this. We ain't going to do no more Judaizing around here. We're not going to keep the Sabbath anymore. We're going to the Sunday laws. We're going to the blue laws. And we aren't going to do those feasts anymore. And especially, there isn't going to be any more killing of lambs. Well, that sort of language smacks in the face of our Heavenly Father. And He's not going to let it stand. Now notice on here I have got the abomination coming before the sealing of the 144,000. I'm not committed to that. It may be that they're going to be sealed before the abomination comes up. But I think not. I think probably it's going to be the abomination that's going to happen first. Because right after that, the Father's going to raise up his people. Probably going to be on a Shavuot. Remember, the men in Acts 2 got pillars of fire. Not pillars of fire, they got flames of fire on their heads. This time, because we're dealing with a much larger scale in the earth, we're dealing with the whole earth. We're going to see pillars of fire, and pillars of smoke over the top of his people. They're going to be the banners that are going to be raised in the wilderness. When the people end up saying, "Oh my God, what happened to Israel?" They're going to see Israel raised up all over the earth. It's going to be a miraculous event. And if the people will get to them when they're sealed, they're going to save themselves a whole lot of grief. Most won't. But remember, I said there's an abomination that's going into all the earth. When that abomination goes down, so is everything else on the earth. We are going to see the earth shook like it has never been shook before. And it's going to be the beginning of the tribulation. We're going to see the sun go dark, the moon no longer give its light. Islands will fall into the sea. Valleys will be raised. Cities will fall. Railway systems will be destroyed. Highway systems will be no longer. You can have the best car in the world, but if you can't get gasoline, it isn't worth anything. No more groceries coming to your store. No more water coming to your house. No more electricity coming to your house. The Father is going to turn the whole world into a wilderness. Yes, we're not going into the wilderness this time. The wilderness is coming to a neighborhood near you, yours. There's a reason why Yeshua said, when you see the abomination that causes desolation, don't go into your house. Why? Because it's going to fall on your head. But as I said, the good news is the 144,000 are going to be sealed. Go to them. Go to them for the safety. Go to them for the instruction in righteousness. In fact, you'll get three things when you're with them. You'll get provisions, because the Father fed his people in the wilderness. You'll get protection. He protected his people in the wilderness. And you'll get instruction in righteousness. When you join these set-apart men, these men who are sealed, what does it say? Harm not the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed the servants of the living Elohim in their foreheads. You need to get to these men. Most will wait until after the tribulation begins, the great shaking of the earth. But get to them soon. You know, there's going to be two great shakings of the earth. The difference between the first one that turns the world into the wilderness and the second one is this. The first one, the stars only diminish. In the second one, the stars fall and the heavens are opened up. You know, everybody wants to worry about the New World Order and all these weapons and all these concentration camps. You know what? The Father is going to put their plans to pasture. Don't worry about what they think they're going to do. It isn't going to happen. Isaiah 8 says, do not call a conspiracy what the world calls a conspiracy, nor be afraid of them. He says, fear me. Let me be your fear. Let me be your dread. Our safety is in and under the protection of his jurisdictional authority. So now the tribulation has begun. Those that get to the 144,000 quickly will receive, as I said, three things: provision, protection, and instruction in righteousness. Those that wait, those who stay with their tucked away food, with their hidden water, and their buried silver and gold, are going to be destroyed. Because there's no food coming into the land. No water coming into the land. There's going to be people going from house to house, looking for the provisions that people made in their flesh. Bands of men will come and break into your house, probably kill you, your sons, rape your wives and your daughters, and steal those provisions that you made in the flesh, those provisions that you were trusting in. When the tribulation begins, when you see the 144,000 raised up with pillars of fire and pillars of smoke, check it out, Joel 2, Isaiah 4. Go to them. Get to them quickly. Their first message is going to be this: fear Elohim and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him, not the Antichrist. The very next message they're going to give is come out of Babylon. Come out from among them. That's going to be the great Exodus. But you know what? If you don't come out quickly, it's not going to take long for the world to realize that if you get to the 144,000, they lose their human resources. And they need you because you make money for them. So what are they going to do? They're going to cordon off and prevent you from getting into the 144,000. You don't want to do that. You want to get to them quickly. They can't keep us in. I say us. I will certainly be with the 144,000, but I would much rather be one of the 144,000. They can't keep us in, but they can keep you out. And they can catch you trying to get to us as well. Oh, you wanted to join those people, did you? You don't like us anymore, huh? Well, now you're probably going to lose your head. Think about this. You can't buy or sell without the mark of the beast. When you're with the 144,000, you don't need to buy and sell, do ya? No, only if you stay in the world do you need to buy and sell. In the wilderness, we're going to be taken care of by the Father. Well, the last step that I wanted you to see here is in the wilderness. What is it going to be like in the wilderness? It's going to be amazing. It's going to be like it was in Egypt. It's going to be like Goshen versus Egypt. Light versus darkness. Good versus evil. It says unless the world had had a small remnant, it would have become like Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, now, all the good people, all the people who want to learn righteousness are coming out of the world. What's left in the world except darkness? And oh, that darkness is going to be felt. While we're eating and rejoicing like stall-fed calves, the world is going to be eating their children, their neighbors, their arms. While they're in desperate straits, we will be rejoicing like stall-fed calves. They're going to be envious, and they're going to come after us. Like a flood, it says they're going to come after us. Will it prevail? No. Has no authority. The strong arm of Elohim is going to fight for us, and he's going to turn their flood away. Remember the floods of the world, the seas of the world, the oceans and the rivers of the world are always wicked people. The strength of wicked people. Father's going to turn them away. They have no authority, and they're going to turn on the other people who are in the world, who haven't joined the 144,000. Well, the last thing we're going to see in the end is Israel going on the offensive. Just like we did in Canaan. We made the land the fathers. And in the last days, this is exactly what we're going to see. The seventh trump says this: the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Elohim. Israel is going to be expanded to all the nations. Enlarged. Why? Because the earth is the Father's and all those who dwell in it. Well, that's going to give you at least an idea of what these blogs are about. Please take the time to listen to these blogs. The Born Again series, you must hear the Born Again series. How is a nation born in a day? This is what we're talking about. Israel has two kinds of people. The Ezra, those born in the land, those native born, and the Ger that dwell with them. Two kinds of people. One law shall be for the native born and for the stranger who dwells with you, the Ger who dwells with you. The native born is the Ezra and the Ger, the Ezra and the Ger. The Born Again series will teach you how to become a Ger by the circumcision of your heart, and later how to become the Ezra by the circumcision of your flesh and the participation in the Passover experience. Does the Father change? Does his word endure forever? Most people will say he doesn't change, that his word does endure forever, but they live quite differently. We have got to make his ways our ways. Well, that'll take you on. Go to the next lesson. If you're going to stay with the last days, the next thing you want to read is Passover begins the tribulation. If you're going to start the Born Again series, I really recommend that you start it from the very beginning by going to this link right here, Passover week. If you just want to talk about the 144,000 in the scriptures, you're going to drop down to this link right here, 144,000 in the scriptures. You're probably going to find this video again, and right underneath this video, it will be the video on the 144,000 in the scriptures. All right. Well, hey, have a great day. Thanks for joining me. Much love to you. Good day.